Our next guest knows a thing or two about this. As a longtime and legendary venture capitalist, he is behind some of the hottest AI names of the moment, including OpenAI and Inflection A.I, which we just mentioned. Reid Hoffman, also the co-founder of LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us and being with us on this holiday Friday. You just heard what I was saying. There's so much money in the space, and for those that say it's getting frothy, you are someone who is still putting a lot of money. How do you respond to them?
Well, AI is the new technology. It's the steam engine of the mind, right? Mustafa was referring to the Industrial Revolution. It's a similar kind of thing, but within 2 to 5 years, there'll be a personal intelligence, a co-pilot for everything. This will transform products and services. This will transform industries. I think it's really important as that kind of moment. So while people are like, well, there's a lot of capital and it seems like it's moving really quickly, that's part of the kind of venture in business when you're betting on the new platform that's going to be the amplification of what we have with computers and phones and the internet and all of the, and every single electronic device.
Yeah, and in the venture capital world, you make a bunch of bets for maybe one or two to turn out to be that next, multi-billion-dollar company. But Reid, I know that you've sort of made it your personal mission to talk about the benefits of artificial intelligence. But, recent polls show that a majority of Americans are still scared of the technology or at least concerned about it. What do you think changes their mind? I know that you've been doing some work on the ground, but is there sort of a seminal moment or a killer app that is able to sort of show what the opportunities are and take away some of that fear?
Yeah, in this context, perhaps we should change the language from killer app.
Yes,
but it's
a good app.
Yeah, it's a good app. Obviously, part of the recommendation is people using these products, like go use Pi, use ChatGPT, get some exposure to them. But like, for example, if you imagine you have a medical assistant on every smartphone, you have a tutor for everything from a 3-year-old to a 75-year-old on every cell phone, you see those benefits. It's like people say, well, I'm not sure about the internet. Oh gosh, this search thing is really useful to me and I can watch new shows and all the rest. Oh, this is really interesting and good for me. And that, I think it's the experience, because when it's unknown, there's kind of fear in it. And that's why I'd play with it.
Right. And many millions are starting to play with it in the form of ChatGPT and Bard. I was at the Aspen Ideas Festival earlier this week, and a lot of folks were talking about this and the effect that generative AI might have on the 2024 presidential election. This may be sort of its biggest test so far. How do you expect it to perform, and how do you expect generative AI as a whole to and chatbots to come out of this?
Well, so I think there's obviously a huge possibility for misinformation. We're going to have hostile actors like the Russian Internet Research Agency, which, over the last 2 election cycles was also trying to, spread misinformation and dissension. They'll obviously be using tools like this. That'll be a challenge. I think it's beholden upon us as technology platforms and companies and so forth to try to level set that the right way, to try to make these sources of good information. I think that's a game on point of view. But the good news is I think the White House and other folks are paying a lot of attention. It's one of the things they're asking of us a bunch of questions, and they're trying to make sure that we're on top of for the election.
Everyone sort of says they're paying attention to the threat of misinformation and generative AI in this election cycle. Do you see work being done? What's being done to actually prevent this?
Well, I think that there's a bunch of discussions. So, for example, should you try to create, it's like all things generated by an AI have to be watermarked. Do you have identity certification within the social media platforms, other kinds of things? So there's a bunch of proposals being floated right now. Obviously, we're going to need to move on those, kind of in a time frame of months in order to make them happen. But the good thing with all of this happening through the large tech companies is it's all much more controllable relative to, kind of monitorable and everything else. So you have that as a feature in this otherwise very, very fast-moving technology.
So who's most likely to step up in the coming year? Is it the tech companies themselves? Is it the public sector, a combination of both?
Well, I hope a combination of both. I do know through a bunch of different, Microsoft's been working on responsible AI for decades. OpenAI is really committed. Every project, it's one of the things that, of course, the projects I'm attracted to are the ones that are like, how do we help humanity and society? And the discussion goes well beyond that. Google has been in a bunch of the discussions and is deeply concerned. So there's a swath, I think, of focus and interest on this. And I think that that's, let's put it this way, I'm hopeful, but we have to work in order to get there.